war may have just entered a new phase, not because of another missile attack, but because Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis have now threatened a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia. If that happens, the world could face disruptions across both of the Middle East's biggest oil routes, Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb. And that could affect oil, trade, shipping costs, and even countries like India. Let's break it down. The Houthis announced what they call a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia, effective immediately. But why? The Houthis say the attacks are retaliation for the bombing of Sana'a International Airport by Yemen's Saudi-backed government, which they say ended 4 years of truce between the two sides. Reuters also reports that Iran has been pressing the Houthis to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait if the US continued striking Iranian infrastructure. This comes even as diplomatic efforts continue. Iran says mediators have sent fresh proposals, and Reuters reports discussions on a possible 10-day ceasefire are underway. Bab el-Mandeb is a narrow waterway connecting the Red Sea to Gulf of Aden. It is also the gateway to Suez Canal. Around 12 to 15% of global maritime trade moves through this corridor. If ships cannot pass through it, they have to sail around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, adding thousands of nautical miles, increasing freight costs, insurance premiums, and delivery times. For Europe, it means supply chain disruptions. For India, it means higher export logistic costs and potentially more expensive crude imports. Why is this strait suddenly more important than before? Here's how Petras Katinas, research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, explains it to Reuters.
So the Red Sea route has become substantially more important because it is no longer simply a normal Europe-Asia transit corridor, which used to be for a long time. It's also one of the main alternatives of the Strait of Hormuz. So, for example, oil flows through Bab el-Mandeb reportedly rose to around 5.4 million barrels per day in the first quarter of 2026, as producers and traders sought alternative routes during the Hormuz disruption. So it's already serves as a backdoor channel.
This is what worries energy markets. Reuters reports that around 7.4 million barrels of petroleum a day now move through Bab el-Mandeb, about 7% of global oil output. After disruptions in Strait of Hormuz, Saudi Arabia shifted much of its exports to the Red Sea port of Yanbu. If Bab el-Mandeb is also disrupted, Saudi's oil exports to Asia could be severely affected, adding another shock to global energy markets. This possibility of Red Sea blockade has now reached the White House. Here's what US President Donald Trump said when asked about Houthi threat.
If something like that happens, we take care of it. You know, we've done that with the Houthis before, and we haven't heard from them in a while since we did what we did originally. That was about 45 days of very powerful action we took against the Houthis.
For now, ships are still moving through Bab el-Mandeb. Diplomatic efforts are still continuing, but military activity is also intensifying with US strikes on Iran, Iranian attacks across the region, and Houthis opening the possibility of new maritime front. The world has adapted to supply chain disruptions before. The question is whether it can avoid another one.